dear friends, here we are. This is 40 nights with the Promised Consoler, and this is day or night 21. Yeah, we're past halfway through our beautiful journey together, and this is our opportunity to grow stronger, not only for this life, right? We don't have the illusion that we're living here for this life. We are here for the learning towards immortality. And we are here today, chapter 44. It's a very striking chapter. Talks about the learning of Judas. We retitled it for our own conversation, the bottom line of it all, Quenching the Thirst of Affection and Love. Are you thirsty for affection and love? Who isn't? Who in this world is not willing to be loved, to be appreciated, right? We all are. And Judas felt the same. But through his own experience, we're going to learn unprecedented teachings from the Master that only the Promised Consoler could share with us. We're very grateful to the spirit author Humberto de Campos, Brother X, through the devoted friends, to say the least, of the medium of all mediums besides Jesus, Chico Xavier. We know Jesus was not a medium of any other spirit, but as Kardec says in the book Genesis, if he were a medium, he were a medium of God. But besides any other medium, Chico Xavier is certainly ahead. He's ahead because he teaches us lessons with his own selfless giving. Chico Xavier really followed through the teachings of the Master, and he is also a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful reference for us. A reference that tells us that Jesus put the bar high, but high enough for all of us to achieve, right? So let us say hi to the beautiful community before we begin. Hello, beautiful Leia, how are you? Valeria, how are you, dear friend as well? And Cesa, all the flowers back. We love your flowers too. And Sunshine, Spiritism in Nevada City, right, Sunshine? Rihanna, hello, friends of South Africa. Do not forget, friends, we have been receiving the donations of books, financial donations that will all be given directly to the group in South Africa. And you're invited to join us. And here we have also beautiful Soul. How are you? And Carol Correa, how are you, my friend? And Mark Smith, how is everybody? Sunshine and Raquel, gratitude to you. And Erica and Danny, how are you, friends? Cousins? Hello, Solange, how are you? And Angelita, how are you, my friend? And Nilda, how are you? And Adilson, how are you? And Margaret, beautiful sunflower and stars and reverence. Thank you, Margaret. Yes, it's good to see you and Nilda. Jailton, how are you, my friend? And Rudy, how are you? And you know, we're here. I'm not going to ask her to speak because she may be coughing, right? But our friend Shane is here. She is here in helping us at all ends. And, you know, she was here for the meeting at the Spirit Side of Virginia. But don't forget, she has, you know, raised the flag of Spiritism in Richmond. Spiritist Society of Richmond. capital of the state of Virginia. Right there. Go to the Facebook page, Spirit Side of Virginia. Like the page, share the page, or go to the website, ssrichmond.org. Share the news with friends, because you know, Richmond deserves the Promise Consoler. Right? Isn't there a place on this earth that needs the light of the Promise Consoler? Our lives are better. With Jesus, Kara saying hi to you, saying beautiful Shane, and Sunshine is saying hi. Hello, Anna. How are you from Alabama? La 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 la. Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me. Dun 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 dun. Right, Anna. And we're joyful because joy is joy, right? As we say with Cara Correa, fun is fun. And it's good. It's good to be together. To be together, strengthening ourselves. But I tell you, every night I say you're going to be surprised. But this one is ever more surprising. Right, Shane? About the learning of Judas, that for us, the bottom line is how to quench the thirst of affection and love. Who doesn't? Hello, Rita Di Cassia. Rita Di Cassia, welcome, welcome. Let's begin, shall we? No more time to wait. We don't waste time. We just wait. We're ready, set, and go. Nevertheless, loving, Judas was at times impulsive and restless. He had fallen in love with the ideals of the Messiah, but he embraced the new principles. But he was often surprised and in shock regarding the teachings of the Messiah. He felt himself to be the owner of the good news. Due to his frenzied attachment to Jesus, Judas almost always took the lead in important decisions. This is how he organized the first fund collection of the Apostolic Communion. Obedient to the same impulses, Judas assumed to serve the great cause he had embraced, accepting the perilous trap that led to the Master's imprisonment. In spite of the renewal studies that he had sincerely embraced, Judas was attached to the inner conflicts that characterized his way of being. He ignored the process of winning friends. He constantly had a bitter reference, an unhappy concept on his lips. When Levi reported to some of Herod's servants who were sympathetic to the gospel, Judas said sarcastically, "Oh, they are vipers in disguise. They suck the public treasure. They flatter priests, and they let themselves be trampled on by the Roman domination. In my opinion, they are nothing but spies." Are you with me here? Let me put a pause. Maybe you're entering now. We don't want you to miss what we've been reading. So let's put a pause and start our therapeutic conversations, okay? So, Judas, let's see, question for all of us. Do we have some features of Judas? Because when we think of Judas, we have that aversion. But this is the description. He was loving, but at times impulsive and restless. It could be us. I don't know. We need to ask. He fell in love with the ideals of the Messiah. We did too. Okay, too many commonalities. Now we're going to begin to be scared. No, don't be scared. Let's continue. And he embraced the new principles, but sometimes was truly surprised and couldn't understand how to get there. Was in shock. He said like, yes, love our enemies, but not so much, right? Maybe very similar to us. I'm not saying you, just humanity, okay? He felt himself to be the owner of the good news. We spiritists feel the same, right? How often do we feel that we own these teachings? People who don't understand, we feel they lack something. Judas felt the same. We look often down on people. Do you look down on people who don't say they are spiritists? Oh, they don't know yet. They don't know yet, as if they are dumber, as if they are... Many people come and tell me these things. Vanessa. And I say, look, know many people who don't have the label spiritist, but they are wonderful people. And they're not all wonderful people, but they are very spiritual, very religious. They love God, they love Jesus, they love other masters, but they are very righteous. So you see how many things? It's not by chance that these texts are coming to us. And he was so attached to Jesus that he almost always took the lead in important decisions. Can you believe Jesus is there and Jesus saying, don't worry, I'm going to take care of it. But he's the master. It says if a student tells the teacher, I will teach the students how to do this. This is how crazy this is. The immaturity. And we're saying this not to judge Judas. And as Leah Severi is saying, Judas many times is our mirror. Exactly. Right now it looks so much like us. Because he started the first fund, like many people thinking that, but Vanessa, how are we going to keep up with the bills of our Spiritist Center if we don't constantly think about raising funds? We need to ask Jesus, because Judas asked this question, and Jesus told him clearly. In the book Good News, we have the report. Don't worry about this. Think about this. Can I share something with you? A thought. Mentor Joseph said another day, and today Shane and I were mentioning this. We were talking, discussing about this. All these books that now are reason for us to be here together came through Chico Xavier. Have you ever heard of Chico Xavier keeping the copyright of these books for his Spiritist centers because he was the medium of the books? This is a common practice nowadays. Is it a problem? It depends on the intention. You can keep the copyright to sell them, but not expecting that the selling of the mediumistic works are going to sustain the center. Because not even Kardec did that. Not even Chico Xavier, the medium. I know this is a very wild thought, but it's a lot of food for thought. We need to think, okay? We need to think about this, friends. Judas had this type of mindset. He was constantly thinking about this thought how we're gonna survive financially. And then, because he was too impulsive, he entrapped himself and Jesus and the whole 9 yards of the collective consciousness into what happened. Thoughts. So we were reading here that Judas had inner conflicts. Don't we have inner conflicts? Yes. And he didn't know how to make friends. How many of us have a hard time? Majority of people on earth have a hard time making friends. Only Pinkie Pie from the ponies of Ponyville, the My Little Pony, she is very good at making friends quickly. But the rest of everybody else has a hard time making friends, which is normal. We're learning. Yeah, Jesus recommended we should make friends. Then you move to the United States, or you're born here, and people teach you that you should teach your children not to be friends with everybody. And that's a twisted concept. Mentor Joseph always said, Vanessa, never teach that to Virginia. Always tell her that she is here to make friends. That in everyone she needs to find bonds of friendship. She needs to find reasons to be friends, to be friends with people. And naturally she's cautious. You know why? Because inside of us we have the law of preservation. We have that naturally inside of us. We feel when something is threatening us. And our guardian angels are protecting us too. And I know in spite of it all, there's cruelty in the world. Yes, you're right. But we can't keep creating these barriers between us and others. The world is only going to get better when people are courageous to drop or to delete the walls between us and others. Rita Di Cassia is mentioning to us, through the book, Chico Xavier touched our lives, souls giving us direction of living life, loving life. Thank you, Rita. Hello, Joyce. Hello, friend. And here we have Jailton. Don't worry, Jailton. You are connected to us heart to heart. Now, so what was his main characteristic here? That's the most important to observe. So far we have a checklist. Judas' description of his character and the questions for us, how much of it is in us. And finally we have here the ultimate characteristic. He constantly had a bitter reference, an unhappy concept on his lips. It's like this. Oh, look at this pen. This pen is wonderful. It writes so smoothly. Somebody says, yeah, but I don't like this design. That's Judas. I showed them a watch. Oh, this watch is great because it shows me, oh, it's on time. The watch is on time. That's great. And somebody says, yeah, but I don't like this brand. So this is Judas. Always bringing something bitter, something unhappy. Are we like this? People are joyful and like, yes, but always like, this is Judas. So we have Levi that came and said, oh, these servants are interested in the gospel. And he's like bitter. Ah, but these are vipers. And then Levi listened to such statements with disenchantment, and his new collaborators avoided him less enthusiastically, because he used to say this in front of people as well. in front. Levi was bringing the companions, saying, oh, they want to know. Oh, and then they avoided. Once, a generous friend of John of Cusa, Joana de Cusa, we know she is the reincarnation of, actually, Joana Diaz is the reincarnation of Joana de Cusa, offered the precise resources for the group's walk from Capernaum to Jerusalem. However, when receiving the importance, Judas, the inconsiderate apostle, pleaded ungratefully. I keep the offer. However, I won't be mocked. The donor intends to buy the kingdom of heaven after having enjoyed all the pleasures of the kingdom of the earth. Let be known that this is impure money, born of iniquity. These words were spoken right in front of the lady, the benefactress, bringing her indefinable bitterness. Mamma mia, this Judas was not a piece of cake. At Caesarea, the heroic wife of a paralytic, feeling bathed by the flashes of the gospel, opened the doors of the household to the destitute of fortune. Orphans and sick sought their brotherly welcome. The ill-tempered disciple, however, Judas, did not refrain from slandering. What about her past? He cried cruelly. Her husband got sick. In the sorrow at the sad pictures he had been forced to witness. Frankly, I do not accept her conversion. Probably she is developing fictitious piety to incite great profits. The lady was severely affected by the uncharitable insinuations to the point that she stopped the initial charitable givings, with great loss to the children of misfortune. When the Messiah himself blessed Zacchaeus in his services, Judas very discreetly exclaimed in indignation, "This publican will pay later. He takes advantage of people, surrounds himself with slaves, practices sordid avarice, and intends achieving the divine kingdom. He won't go far. He may deceive the master, but not me." Feeding, let's observe the words, feeding such dispositions, Judas suffered the mistrust of many. From time to time, he was gently pushed away. Silently, following his actions, let's observe what Jesus did. He was there, watching. He silently followed Judas' actions. But he advised prudence, love, and tolerance. He had barely finished the affectionate remarks when Simon Peter, for example, arrived, explaining that Jeroboam, a Pharisee who sympathized with the good news, seemed inclined to help the emerging gospel. Judas then said sarcastically, "Jeroboam, that man is a fox of sharp nails. It's his mere pretense. I've known him for 20 years. He knows nothing but exploiting his neighbor and accumulating money. There was a time when he was assaulted. He assaulted his own father because the unfortunate diverted half a wine barrel. Well, the truth, however, is that circumstances little by little forced Judas to isolate himself. And isolation equals to obsession. Let's not forget this. The companions then avoided him. Nobody approved of the impulsive accusations and the lamentations without purpose. Only Christ did not lack patience. Jesus spent hours encouraging and enlightening Judas affectionately. What a master! The non-verbal lessons of Jesus. He never gave up on Judas. Never, ever, ever. He never said, now Judas, you're expelled because you don't belong to this. He kept him there. Though he was sarcastic, ironic, negative, impulsive, materialistic, egotistic, Jesus always patient. And this is how Jesus is with us. He's always spending hours, long hours, encouraging us and enlightening us without any rush or without any demands. But on a hot and dry afternoon, this is interesting because the parallel, hot and dry afternoon. When our emotions are very dry, like Judas, they bubble up to the point people feel like it's too hot to be close to us. It's too much, too explosive. It's precisely on an afternoon that parallels to the emotional pattern of Judas that something special is going to happen. Both Judas and Jesus were traveling on the outskirts of Nazareth. Tired from the long journey, the son from Kerioth. Kerioth is the city where they say Jesus is from. He asked in a sorrowful way, Lord, listen to this. It may sound oftentimes like us. Why do I suffer such heavy humiliation? I notice that the companions themselves turn away cautiously about me. I cannot make lasting relationships. It's like there is a forced separation between my spirit and others. I am misunderstood and warned by fate. Raising his sad eyes to the divine friend, he repeated, why? Oh, Judas. We feel, right? We feel his pain. Because it may be our pain too. Jesus was going to respond with compassion. Because he observed that the disciples' voice had tears, which insisted not to fall. He had inner conflicts. He wanted to cry, but he didn't allow the tears to roll down his face. Conflicts. They suddenly came to a humble well. Modest, humble well. Where they often quenched their thirst. Judas, who was eagerly awaiting that blessing, inclined himself impulsively Dipping his avid hands in the crystalline liquid, Judas, without noticing, touched the bottom, bringing large slabs of mud to the surface. "Oh, oh, how sad!" Judas shouted in despair. And the kind master smiled calmly and said, "Judas, in this modest well, you have the lesson that you wanted. When you want pure water, you shall collect it with care and awareness. There is no need to bust mud from the bottom and the banks. When you're thirsty for tenderness and love, do the same with your friends. Receive their affectionate cooperation without thinking of evil, so that you do not lose the supreme good." Heavy silence fell between the benefactor and the disciple. The unvigilant apostle changed his facial expression, but he did not answer anything. You're speechless? Me too. Right, Shane? It's very deep, Shane is saying. Very deep. How much of us still has those characteristics that Judas is displaying? Impulsiveness. Let's line out, okay? How beautiful, right, Carol Correa? I know. Let us line up. Checklist of the characteristics of Judas we need to watch out. Precipitated, impulsive, restless. He fell in love, you see? He fell in love, so it was more a passion than the true appreciation for it all. Are we in love with Jesus' teachings? Or do we love Jesus' teachings? There is a difference. Many people come to the Spiritist centers, they fall in love. Oh my God, these teachings are everything. And years go by and they're like, but it's just like Judas. We embrace it, but we always say, yes, but this thing of drinking alcohol is not like that. So we are in shock with the principles, right? We're like, yeah, they say we should watch out for this, but come on, this is a holiday. And then we give room and be in shock, and we are contradicting what we are falling in love, and soon we're not in love anymore. So we need to watch out, because Judas had those characteristics. Let's see what else. He felt he owned the good news. Remember when I told you, I've heard people in the past, a decade and a half ago, people telling me that they were the ones who were going to dictate how spiritism is going to spread out in the world. And I was like, really? Oh my gosh, you have a document? Seriously, who said that? And where are they now? I don't know. One of them I know, discarnated. The other one, I don't know. I know that the person is not working on the Spiritist movement. You see, like Judas, he thought he owned it. And he fell. Big time. Hello, Jussara. Welcome, welcome. This is beautiful, right, Jussara? Chapter 44. We just read it from the book Luz Acima. And we are here having a checklist to see how much of these characteristics of Judas are still in us, so we can work on it. The other one that we observed, what is it? He took the lead in important decisions before Jesus, to the point that he fell, thinking that he knew better than Jesus. Hello, Melissa. Welcome, welcome. And he didn't know how to make friends. We're talking about making friends, as Jesus said. He always had a bitter reference and unhappy mentioning about something. Like we're saying, you show them this beautiful book that was published by the United States Spiritist Council, and they'll say, oh, but I wish the little pig were blue. I'm just joking. Nobody said that to me. Just joking. That's Judas, always saying, having a bitter remark. Okay? Because when we're invited to the good news, we have good news. We don't have half good news. We have whole good news. Good news is good news. So everybody he was introducing, he didn't trust the goodness in people. Blinking, therapeutic moment for us. Do you trust? How much do you trust the good actions of people in your life? Or are we like Judas? Constantly feeling like, really? That person is doing this? What do they want? What is the catch? Are you like this? Scale 0 to 10. 0 being like, I don't trust the good in people at all. Or 100, I trust 100%, like Jesus. He said, in the book of News it's reported, he said, I always prefer to believe in the good. We're divine creatures. What do we need to do to raise that mark and say, I believe. I believe in the good. People are doing this because genuinely they are children of God. Why? Right? We need to ask. You see people who are working constantly to the benefit of others, and we're not going to rely upon the fact that they are children of God. That's the reason why their essence is good. Our essence is good. How often do we need to sing, to be reminded that we are the children of God. We are the children of God. We reincarnated to learn to do good. We're learning. It's valid. We're learning. And the more we practice, the more we rejoice, the more we want to do it, the more we want to keep doing it. Right? Yes. You also are a child of God. You are a child of God. You reincarnated to learn to do good. Right? But Judas is an example of how much inside of us we're just like him. We don't believe in the good. The question for him is, did he believe in his own good? Very likely not. So, he kept feeding, says Humberto de Campos, these dispositions. Feeding. How do we feed it? Fear. Due to fear. People sometimes, they say, but Vanessa, some people deceive others. Yeah, but it's between them and God. We know that from now to immortality, we will come to terms with the goodness inside of us. So what do I need to do? Relate, and I asked this question to Mentor Joseph one day. He said, Mentor Joseph, like Judas, Jesus knew. How did Jesus actually was able to keep up with us in spite of our shortcomings? And he said, Vanessa, Jesus could see, and still does see, all of us ahead. Because he is the divine presence in our lives. He is one with God in the sense of he's perfect harmonious with God. He can see us past this shortcoming, past this limitation. He connects with our true essence, the one that is going to be unfolded, potentiated, and boosted at this continuum of life. If you, Vanessa, said me to Joseph, visualize this person who is doing these wrongdoings, but already past this shortcoming, this lack, this imperfection, not only will you empower this person, but you empower yourself also to raise above your own limitations and grow stronger and never give up on God's creation. Because when we give up on someone, we're giving up on God's creation. Does it mean we should be allowing abusers to abuse us? No. But deep inside, I need to work on reconciling. I may be living distantly from the abuser, but deep inside, I work on the possible grudges. I work on reconciling, forgiving, and already seeing that person past the current moment of limitations. Not necessarily living under the same roof. Not necessarily allowing people, enabling them to be abusers, but inside of us, in our minds, because mind is the mirror of life, we already see them whole, complete, lacking nothing, because they're children of God. Rihanna is reminding us there is good in everyone. If we just be still and listen and look beyond the outer surface, we'll see God's love. Precisely the summary of Rihanna's words. Thank you, Rihanna. But you know, as he didn't trust others, others didn't trust him, says here. Action, reaction. He pushes people away, people push him away. So if people are pushing us away, are we pushing them away? He was gently pushed away by people. But Jesus was there, as Rihanna is saying, silent, advising prudence, love, and tolerance. What is to be tolerant? Is to give people opportunity to go through their process. Okay? Unless they are creating commotion for the group, for the collective. And then we need to take a measure. But we're not going to hate them. We're not going to kill anybody because of this. And killing means not slandering. Because there are different forms of killing. Right? There are different forms of killing. One of them is to badmouth somebody. And then I'll have a hard time putting the pieces together, which is super hard, if ever possible. Now, the lesson here, he says, I'm humiliated, I don't make true friendships, not long-lasting. And Jesus was so compassionate, but as a wonderful master, he comes to us with one of the strongest analogies, the well. Not only the Samaritan woman needed affection and love, Judas did too. And we all want it and need it. Who doesn't, right? So Judas was thirsty. Are you thirsty? I'm thirsty too. I'm going to drink some water. My well is pink. But luckily, I don't need to collect it with my hands, because probably I would be as impulsive as Judas. Like, I'm so thirsty, and he goes, no care. So Jesus says, Judas, next time, be careful. Be mindful. Be fully aware of what you're doing. He says, when you're thirsty for tenderness and love, do the same with your friends, meaning be careful. Often when we have friends, we demand of them angelic features. We want displays of angelic love, sublime, unconditional. We say, oh, but the friend who is truly my friend is going to love me for who I am, so I have no care, no mindfulness, no caution. And like Judas, I mess up. We're learning. We need to be careful, because we're still fragile. As Jesus said once to Peter, Peter, most often than not, human beings are more fragile than evil. We're fragile. That's why we need to be careful. Don't abuse your relationships. Sometimes we think that being too close means tolerating abusive manners. And we need to be the kindest. Like, thank you, you're welcome. More at home than outside. Both, but more at home. Because more in the sense of the quantity, depending on the time we spend with our family. Because with people in our work, we may be longer hours, but not with the same people sometimes. So we're kind, careful, cautious. But we can't demand on people angelic attitude. We can't say something bad to somebody and expect that they're going to look at us and say, oh, Vanessa, you're so sweet and kind. I love you. I still love you. If they don't, I say, you know, you're right, because I said things that are hard to be listened. I'm so sorry. But if you give me an opportunity to make amends, please. I'm learning. As Jesus says, we often don't know what we're doing. But tonight, Jesus is teaching us the ultimate pathway to making friends, to creating harmony, to cultivating harmony. What is it? Care and awareness, mindfulness. How do we do it? First, talking less. That's talking less. Because if we talk less, look at Jesus, non-verbal lessons. He's silent. He's not reprimanding Judas all the way. He's silent. Judas is speaking his mind, and Judas is silent. We need to learn more silent. Maybe that's one exercise we should do at our spiritist centers. 5 minutes of silence to learn to be silent. Without prayers, without anything. Because we need to train the mind not to be constantly in the need of saying something. We disrupt relationships. You know, there are people who go deaf. Psychologically, psychosomatics say they don't want to listen. And sometimes They're right, because the world is pretty harsh. People sometimes in our lives, they don't stop talking. And it's hard. It hurts. You don't want to listen. So what do we do? Be the first ones not to. I mean, here, we're not going to be staring, right? But in our daily lives, it's an opportunity to be a little silent, more careful with our relationships, if, as he says, we're thirsty for tenderness and love. We give what we want to receive. Would we want somebody to say this, that, and the other to us? No. We need to be more mindful. Mindfulness begins at each breath. Learning how to breathe. Learning how to breathe. And not feeling like Judas. We have to say the last word or else. We own. We need to defend. Jesus teaches us a lesson. He was silently following the actions of Judas. Always advising to be prudent, loving, and tolerant. And he was there, always patient, encouraging and enlightening Judas with love. But silent. Silent. Hello, Eunice. Hello, Felipe and Fernando. And Fernando Oliveira is saying silence is a must exercise for the spiritual war. Exactly. We need to practice this true silence, this inner, when we are okay. I don't need to listen to anything. I don't need to say anything. I don't need to break down any reasoning. I just need to be. Is it possible? Of course it is. Look at nature. The tree's being. She's not speaking. She's not screaming. She's being a tree. We can be who we are without words. We think we are only who we are when we speak. And in the North American society, we believe that you only become somebody when you speak. What you feel, what you say. Not true. And often, we don't value people when they are silent. We need to teach our children to be, not to speak. To be. It's okay. Jussara Korngold is kindly saying silence can also be called meditation. Exactly. The true meditation, right, Jussara? When we're really working mindfully. We're not silent in the mouth, Jussara is saying. It's this inner quietness. How do we do it? Listen to your breath. Take advantage that we are incarnated. Let's take advantage. We're incarnated. We can breathe in and out. And feel the joy of existing. The warmth of the physical body. Have you felt your temperature? Because sometimes people think, how are you feeling? I don't know if I'm cold, if I'm hot. Feel it. Breathing in and out. And you start feeling your connection with the physical body through the perispirit. The warmth of the flesh. And the blessing of being rooted, grounded in this moment. Because it's much harder for discarnate spirits to do those exercises. And you know why, right? Because since they have the perispirit but not the physical body, the perispirit is going to obey the impulses of the mind. They're going to be where the minds are. And not necessarily will be easily managing it, because we'll be surprised at times where we're going to put ourselves in. No wonder Kardec in the Spirit's book gave us the analogy of us spirits being like a balloon connected to the spirit body by a cord, like the perispirit, figuratively speaking. And when we're incarnated, we're grounded in the soil, the flesh, the body. So the balloon can go north, south directions, west and east, but to a determined range, because it's grounded. The day we discarnate, wherever the balloon goes, the mind of the spirit, the perispirit is there too. So it's easier to learn to meditate here when we are incarnated than when we're discarnated. I heard the other day somebody say, I'm gonna learn to meditate when I discarnate. I said, you know, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's easier to learn it when we're here. But let us read the final words of the Master, because the Master is the Master. He's loving, compassionate. Let me bring to you the adjectives of the Master brought in by Brother X. Here we have, he says, that Jesus, okay, I'm going to bring it to you. Silently followed the actions, so he cherished silence, advised prudence, love, and tolerance, and he was very kind, loving, never lacked patience, spent long hours encouraging and enlightening Judas with affection. The divine friend then repeated the lesson for him to understand how to go by. The Master kindly smiled with calmness and said, Judas, and all of us, in this modest well, you have the lesson that you desire. When you want pure water, you shall collect it with care and awareness. There is no need to bust mud from the bottom and the banks. When you thirst for tenderness and love, do the same with your friends. Receive their affectionate cooperation without thinking of evil, so that you do not lose the supreme good. Do you believe in love? Do you believe in love? Do you believe in love? Yeah? Do you? Because that's what Jesus is talking about. If we want love, we need to believe in it first. If we want affection, we need to believe in it first. If people give you something, why are they giving it to me? For some good reason. Do you believe it? Do you believe in love? Do you believe in it? We need to believe in it in order for it to manifest. In the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel teaches us we need to think in order to manifest. Love is not a given, it's a construction in our hands. It's a given by love, by God. But we are co-creators. We're given the Play-Doh of love. But in order to make it and sculpt it, we need to do it with our own hands. It's work, effort, repetition, effort, repetition. So let us repeat. I believe in love. I believe in loving me, and I believe in loving you. I believe in loving me, and I believe in loving you. I believe in loving me, and I believe in love inside of you. I believe in it. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. Right, Anilda? I believe it. Jesus is the loving divine master and friend. He loves us. The question is, do we love him or are we in love with him? Judas was in love with him, and we are here tonight being asked to have that same care, mindfulness with also our divine friend. Not only with our friends, but the friend of all friends. Are you a good friend of Jesus? How good of a friend have you been to Jesus? Are we spoiling his works by doing what Judas did, thinking we own it, and now we are the ones entitled to say ABC? Or are we helping him like Chico Xavier? This book is not mine. They are of the spirits. I don't keep any penny. Chico Xavier's words. He was a good friend of Jesus. Jesus is a good friend of all of us. The question is, are we being a good friend of him? Of his? Yes? That's it, friends. Let us rejoice in this beautiful message, and tomorrow we'll be back together, God willing, with another lesson from the book Luz Acima, as per our post in Kardec Radio, telling precisely the chapter. Thank you very much, and until later.